Does a life lived by the relentless rhythm of the ocean truly shape a man differently, hardening him against the world's soft edges, or merely etching a deeper understanding of its unpredictable heart? Elias Thorne, a man whose existence was as deeply grooved and resilient as the planks of his fishing boat, had seen 60 seasons of sun and storm off the rugged coast of Brittany. His days unfolded as a quiet testament to enduring solitude and the unyielding demands of his trade, a relentless, often unforgiving dance with the vast, indifferent sea. This lifelong engagement had sculpted his hands into gnarled instruments of his craft, etched deep lines into his face like a cartographer's map of weathered coastlines, and refined his spirit into a quiet, introspective strength. He resided in a small stone cottage, perched precariously on a rise overlooking the bustling, yet somehow always distant, harbor. The constant companions of his existence were the raucous gulls, their cries a familiar soundtrack to his waking hours, and the ceaseless, rhythmic crash of waves against the shore, a lullaby to his nights. His life was a study in modest sufficiency, devoid of excess, guided by an unwavering compass of honesty. The sea, in all its majestic, capricious power, was his unforgiving master, yet also his profound, undeniable love. He understood its moods, respected its boundaries, and rarely, if ever, questioned its wisdom, even when it dealt him the harshest blows. His connection to this watery expanse ran deeper than mere livelihood. It was the very essence of his being, a legacy inherited from generations of Thorns who had wrestled their sustenance from these very waters. He remembered his grandfather, a man of few words and calloused hands, teaching him to read the subtle shifts in the currents, to feel the coming storm in the air long before the barometer dipped.
These lessons were not just about survival, they were about respect, about belonging to something far greater than oneself. One crisp autumn morning, the air still held the sharp, clean scent of salt mixed with the distant, earthy aroma of pine from the mainland forests. Elias, following a routine etched into his very bones, prepared his boat, the Sea Whisper, a vessel as old and reliable as he was. The sun, a pale, hesitant disk in the eastern sky, slowly ascended, promising a good day for fishing, a rare gift after a week of squalls. He cast his nets with a practiced, fluid motion, a ritual perfected over decades, a silent invocation passed down through generations of his family. The heavy mesh unfurled into the dark, swirling depths, a silent prayer for abundance. Then he waited. He waited as the sun climbed higher, warming the deck, as the gulls wheeled overhead, their shadows flitting across the water. He waited as the tide turned, and the rhythmic pull on his lines began to suggest the presence of a healthy catch. Hours later, as the day began its slow descent towards evening, Elias commenced the arduous task of hauling in his nets. Each strand, heavy with the weight of the ocean, was pulled with the deliberate, powerful movements of a man intimately familiar with physical labor. But as he began to retrieve the final sections, a peculiar, unsettling heaviness settled into the ropes. It was not the familiar, lively struggle of a vibrant school of mackerel, their collective weight a thrilling challenge. Nor was it the dead, unyielding resistance of a snagged rock, a common frustration that often tore the fragile mesh. This sensation was different, profoundly so. There was a powerful, frantic thrashing, an almost desperate energy emanating from the depths, sending an odd tremor, a cold shiver up his arms and deep into his chest. It was a struggle that spoke not of instinctual prey, but of something far more complex, something with a panicked will of its own.
A subtle unease, a premonition he couldn't quite articulate, began to prickle at the back of his mind. The ocean, usually so predictable in its offerings, seemed to hold a secret in its dark embrace this time. With straining muscles, each sinew in his arms taut as a ship's rigging, and a growing sense of dread coiling in his gut, Elias finally managed to bring the last, struggling section of the net alongside the weathered hull of his boat. There, a sight that stole the very breath from his lungs.
Hopelessly entangled in the coarse, unforgiving mesh was a young dolphin. Its sleek, gray body, usually a marvel of aquatic grace, was now a chaotic, struggling knot of despair and panic. Its intelligent eyes, normally reflecting the serene blue of the ocean, were wide with an unutterable terror and profound exhaustion, reflecting a desperate plea for release. It was a creature of immense beauty and effortless movement, now reduced to a desperate, helpless prisoner, its powerful tail and fins beating against the boat's hull in a silent, heart-wrenching plea that resonated far beyond mere sound. This was no ordinary catch, no simple matter of profit or loss, and certainly not a sight he could easily dismiss, nor one that fit neatly into the ledger of a fisherman's day. Elias felt a jolt, a visceral shock that went beyond the mere surprise of the unexpected. The sheer, untamed beauty of the creature, even in its desperate struggle, was breathtaking. Its skin, a canvas of shifting grays and whites, seemed to shimmer under the morning light, a testament to the ocean's living artistry. He had seen dolphins before, of course, countless times, breaching in the distance, racing the bow of his boat, their playful antics a momentary distraction from the grim business of fishing. But never like this, never so close, so vulnerable, so utterly at his mercy. Elias felt a jolt, a visceral shock that went beyond the mere surprise of the unexpected. The sheer, untamed beauty of the creature, even in its desperate struggle, was breathtaking. Its skin, a canvas of shifting grays and whites, seemed to shimmer under the morning light, a testament to the ocean's living artistry. He had seen dolphins before, of course, countless times, breaching in the distance, racing the bow of his boat, their playful antics a momentary distraction from the grim business of fishing. But never like this, never so close, so vulnerable, so utterly at his mercy.
The dolphin's intelligent eyes, dark and fathomless, met his, and in that instant, a silent, profound communication passed between them. It wasn't just fear he saw there, but a primal intelligence, a knowing desperation that pierced through the layers of his hardened, practical exterior. A deep, unsettling pang resonated within Elias, far deeper than the simple pity one might feel for any creature caught in a trap. He was a man of the sea, accustomed to its harsh realities, to the cycle of life and death that played out daily beneath its waves. He knew the practical implications of this unforeseen catch with brutal clarity. His net, a costly and essential tool of his trade, was almost certainly damaged, perhaps beyond easy repair. This meant lost time, a wasted day of fishing, and the potential for a significantly reduced catch, impacting his meager income. There was also the lingering, unspoken concern about authorities. Being found with a marine mammal, even accidentally, could lead to questions, fines, or worse. The thought of the bureaucratic entanglement alone was enough to make his weathered brow furrow in exasperation. But as his gaze remained locked with the dolphin's ancient, knowing eyes, a flicker of something far older and more profound stirred within him. It was a resonance with the deep, forgotten lore of the coast, tales whispered by old men in smoky taverns during winter nights. Stories of sailors lost at sea, only to be guided to safety by these very beings, of their profound, almost mystical connection to the ocean's deepest mysteries. He remembered his own grandfather, a man of few words but immense wisdom, telling him once that the sea held spirits, and some of the greatest were those that swam freely, guardians of the deep. His upbringing, rooted in a deep, almost instinctual respect for all life, especially the creatures of his beloved ocean, weighed heavily on his mind, a silent, unyielding anchor against the tide of practicality.
This wasn't just a nuisance. It was a test, a moment of reckoning with his own principles. The choice before him was stark, laid bare by the struggling creature. He could, in the cold calculus of a fisherman's life, leave it to its fate, let nature, in its often cruel indifference, take its course. He could cut the net, release the fish, and simply let the dolphin, still entangled, drift away, its struggle a grim inevitability. Or he could choose a different path,
one fraught with immediate cost and considerable effort, risking his livelihood, his time, and even his own safety to free it. The struggle to untangle such a powerful creature was immense, a daunting prospect even for a man of Elias's strength and experience. The dolphin, in its raw, primal fear, could easily lash out, its powerful tail a formidable weapon capable of breaking bones. Its frantic thrashing could further shred his already strained net, turning a costly repair into a complete replacement. Every instinct of self-preservation, every lesson learned from a lifetime of hard knocks urged him to consider the pragmatic, to protect his own. Yet, the thought of letting it perish, knowing he had the means, however difficult, to intervene, gnawed at his conscience with a persistent, inescapable ache. This wasn't just a fish, a commodity to be weighed and sold. This was a sentient being, a spirit of the sea, trapped and suffering. The decision wasn't just about the dolphin. It was about Elias himself, about the man he was, and the man he wanted to remain. He knew, with a certainty that settled deep in his bones, what he had to do, regardless of the immediate cost, regardless of the practicalities that screamed for a different choice. The silent plea in those dark eyes had bypassed his mind and gone straight to his soul. A grim determination, hard as the barnacled hull beneath his feet, settled over Elias. He moved with a quiet resolve, his movements slow and deliberate, designed to cause as little additional stress as possible. He began the painstaking work of freeing the dolphin, speaking to it in a low, soothing voice, a calming cadence that he hoped, perhaps foolishly, might penetrate the animal's frantic terror. "Easy now, little one," he murmured, his voice raspy with age and emotion. "I won't hurt you. Just hold still." He knew the words were meaningless to the creature, but the tone, the gentle intent behind them was for both of them. He needed to believe he was offering comfort, even as his hands worked with the precision of a surgeon and the strength of a blacksmith. The air filled with the sharp scent of ozone and fish, mingled with the metallic tang of his own fear. The dolphin thrashed, its powerful body twisting and lunging, sending spray high into the air, soaking Elias to the bone. Each movement was a test of his resolve, a dangerous dance between man and wild. He used his stoutest fishing knife, its blade honed to a razor's edge, carefully cutting away the net, section by section, strand by agonizing strand. The coarse mesh, designed to trap, now resisted his every effort. His hands, already raw and calloused from years of labor, became abraded and bleeding, small cuts stinging with the salt water, but he barely registered the pain. His focus was absolute, his will unbending. He worked for what felt like an eternity, the sun climbing higher, then beginning its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. Finally, after what felt like an age of desperate struggle and meticulous effort, with a powerful, almost triumphant surge, the dolphin broke free. It lingered for a moment beside the boat, its sleek body now unburdened, yet still trembling with the aftershocks of its ordeal. Its dark, intelligent eyes, no longer wide with panic, were fixed on Elias. It was a profound, silent gaze that seemed to convey not only exhaustion, but an unreadable depth of understanding, a recognition that transcended species and language. There was no fear now, only an intense, lingering connection. Then, with a flick of its powerful tail, it dipped beneath the waves, a flash of gray disappearing into the fathomless blue, leaving behind only ripples on the water and an indelible imprint on Elias's soul. He watched until the last trace of its presence vanished, a strange mix of relief, wonder, and a profound sense of emptiness washing over him. The sea, which had always been his familiar, predictable workplace, suddenly felt vast and mysterious, holding secrets he had only just begun to glimpse. The following week passed in a haze of routine and quiet contemplation for Elias. The encounter stayed with him, a vivid, almost hallucinatory memory that often overshadowed the day's meager catch. The rhythmic creak of his boat, the endless slap of waves against the hull, the cries of the gulls,
All these familiar sounds now seemed imbued with a new, subtle resonance, as if the ocean itself was whispering the dolphin's name. He found himself scanning the horizon more often, his gaze lingering on the distant swells, half expecting, half dreading to see the familiar arc of a dorsal fin. He wondered if his act of kindness, so costly in time and effort, was foolish, a sentimentality ill-suited for the harsh, unsentimental realities of the sea. Had he merely delayed the inevitable for a creature that would soon forget him, or had he truly forged a connection? The vast, indifferent ocean, in its immensity, felt both emptier without the dolphin's presence, and yet, paradoxically, more alive, a testament to the profound, fleeting connection he had forged. He often replayed the moment in his mind, the dolphin's eyes, the silent understanding, the powerful surge of its freedom.
It was a memory that warmed him in the chill of the morning, yet also left him with a lingering sense of unfulfilled wonder, a question mark hanging over the vast blue expanse. 7 days later, as the first tentative rays of dawn painted the sky in hues of rose and molten gold, Elias was preparing to cast his nets near a familiar reef, a spot known for its abundance of cod and haddock. The air was still, the sea a calm, glassy surface reflecting the nascent light. He was just coiling a rope when his eye caught a solitary fin breaking the surface in the distance, moving with a deliberate, purposeful grace towards his boat. His heart, usually a steady, predictable drum, quickened its beat, a surge of adrenaline warming his old veins. It was the dolphin, unmistakable in its powerful, fluid movements, its distinctive dorsal fin cutting through the water like a dark blade. It swam directly towards him, not veering away as wild creatures typically did, but approaching with an almost uncanny confidence, closer than any wild creature had ever dared before. A shiver, not of fear but of pure, unadulterated awe, traced a path down his spine. He stood frozen, his hands gripping the weathered rail, watching the impossible unfold before his very eyes. The dolphin circled his boat once, then twice, its movements slow and deliberate, almost ceremonial. Elias could hear the gentle whoosh of its breath as it surfaced near the stern, its dark eyes once again meeting his, filled with that same unreadable depth. Then, with a gentle nudge of its snout, it pushed something towards the stern, just within Elias's reach. His breath caught in his throat, a gasp escaping his lips. Floating on the surface, bobbing gently with the small swells, was a small, intricately carved wooden box. It was encrusted with barnacles and sea growth, their rough textures a testament to years, perhaps even centuries, spent beneath the waves. The wood, dark and dense, seemed ancient, its edges softened by the relentless caress of the currents. It was not merely a trinket, a discarded piece of flotsam. It was an artifact, a whisper from the deep past, a tangible piece of history offered by the ocean itself. The dolphin gave one last, soft exhalation, its gaze unwavering, then dipped beneath the waves, disappearing as silently and mysteriously as it had arrived, leaving Elias alone with his boat, the rising sun, and the incredible barnacle-kissed offering. With trembling hands, Elias carefully reached out and retrieved the box from the water. It was surprisingly heavy, its dark, dense wood feeling solid and significant in his grasp. The salt and age had fused the corroded clasp, but with a determined effort, he managed to pry it open. Inside, nestled on a bed of fine, dark sand, lay its contents. A handful of tarnished gold coins, their faces worn smooth by the relentless caress of time and salt. Their original intricate designs, now barely discernible ghosts of their former glory. They clinked softly as he shifted them, a faint echo of forgotten wealth. Beneath the coins, carefully protected, was a small, tightly rolled parchment, remarkably preserved by a thick, protective layer of beeswax. Its edges were brittle, but the body of the scroll was intact, a testament to the ocean's preserving power. With the utmost care, Elias unrolled the parchment.
It wasn't a map, as his initial surge of excitement might have suggested, but a short, cryptic message penned in an archaic script, its elegant, flowing lines hinting at a bygone era. The language was old, almost forgotten, yet Elias, with his lifetime immersed in coastal lore and the occasional salvaged relic, recognized enough to grasp its profound significance. It spoke not of specific coordinates, but of a forgotten shipwreck, a vessel lost centuries ago during a fierce storm, laden with the treasures of a distant land.
The message hinted at a lost legacy, a family fortune swallowed by the sea, and a secret cove known only to a select few, generations ago. A legend whispered among the oldest fishermen, dismissed by most as mere fanciful tales. It was a fragment of history, a key to a story that had lain dormant beneath the waves for ages, now brought to light by an act of pure, selfless compassion. The implications were staggering, reaching far beyond the immediate value of the gold. Elias was stunned, utterly speechless. The gift was not merely valuable in a material sense, it was profound, a tangible link to history, to the mysterious, uncharted depths of the ocean, and to the extraordinary intelligence of the creature that had brought it to him. It was an affirmation of the dolphin's remarkable cognitive abilities, its deep-seated gratitude, and the unspoken pact they had formed in that moment of shared vulnerability. The encounter transcended a simple exchange. It was a revelation, altering his perception of the sea, of life itself, and of his own humble place within the grand, interconnected tapestry of existence. He understood then, with a clarity that resonated deep within his soul, that kindness, truly given without expectation of reward, possessed its own unique currency, its own remarkable, often miraculous way of returning, not always in the form anticipated, but always in a manner that enriched the giver in ways far beyond material wealth. The ocean, which had always been his source of livelihood, now revealed itself as a boundless realm of wonder, holding secrets and offering gifts far beyond human comprehension. Elias, true to his honest and unassuming nature, did not use the newfound treasure for lavish personal gain. The thought of flaunting such wealth, of abandoning his simple life, never even crossed his mind.
Instead, he meticulously researched the archaic script, carefully piecing together the fragments of the legend, and with the help of a retired maritime historian from a nearby university, he eventually located the approximate site of the forgotten shipwreck mentioned in the parchment. The recovery was a quiet, discreet affair, yielding more gold and artifacts, enough to ensure his modest comfort in his twilight years, far beyond any fisherman's dream. But more importantly, he discreetly and subtly used a significant portion of the treasure to support his small, struggling community. He funded much-needed repairs for the crumbling local church, its ancient stone walls slowly succumbing to the salt air. He contributed to the purchase of a new, safer schoolboat, replacing the dilapidated old vessel that ferried children across the bay. He quietly helped struggling families during harsh winters, ensuring warm meals and dry homes, always anonymously, always with the understanding that true generosity seeks no recognition. He never spoke of the dolphin's gift, guarding the secret closely, a sacred trust between him and the sea. But often when he was out at sea, his sea whisper cutting through the waves, he would see a familiar fin cresting the waves in the distance, a silent, knowing presence, a testament to the extraordinary bond forged by a single, selfless act. The dolphin, his silent benefactor, would sometimes swim alongside his boat for a time, a guardian spirit of the deep, before gracefully veering off into the vastness. The sea, once just his workplace, a source of daily struggle and sustenance, became a place of profound wonder, endless possibility, and an enduring, almost mystical connection that transcended the ordinary. His life, though outwardly unchanged, was inwardly transformed, imbued with a quiet sense of purpose and a deep, abiding gratitude for the unexpected miracle that had unfolded on its boundless blue expanse.